everyone, and welcome to the Human Design Podcast with me, your host, Emma Dunwoody. I'm a qualified master coach and human behaviour specialist, as well as being a qualified human design coach. And I work with clients every single day to answer the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? I also assist them to transition from the person they think they should be to the person they really are on the inside. I teach people how to actually live their design instead of just knowing it. And if this is something that you want to do too, well, stay tuned or reach out for private coaching or Human Design Unpacks, where I show you exactly how to live your design. Hey, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Human Design Podcast. There's someone I wanted to introduce you to. That is another one of our incredible sponsors on the program, our Millions of Millionaires mission. That is to make sure that we do everything that we can to support entrepreneurs and small businesses so that they can create the business of their dreams. So the amazing Heather Ivany is here with me. Many of you might have heard of Heather on our podcast. It was an awesome episode. I probably should know the number off my top of my head, but I don't. I'm sure that's no surprise to you guys. So go check out the podcast. But Heather, welcome to the podcast again.
Oh, I'm super excited to be back, Emma. Yeah, we have so much fun when we get together, and you have such a brilliant audience. So it's an honor to be back in your company again.
Oh, thank you. And you're absolutely right. I'm so grateful for my audience. I really am. They are such a beautiful bunch of humans. I'm really grateful. Now, when we did a session together, I know that your speciality, although you're a spiritual mentor, you have, experience with yoga, you have experience with the Akashic records, you have experience with energy healing. I'm sure there even Reiki in there. Like there's a long list. And one of the things that I know now is a real speciality of yours is purpose. So how do you help people with their purpose?
Yeah. So when we talk about purpose, there's sort of three main ways that I look at this. One is our soul has a timeline, right? And it's connected to higher dimensions in the all-knowing realm. And then our soul is also connected to our incarnated self. So it's got this connection to oneness, and it's got this connection to individuality. So if someone really wants to work on their connection to consciousness and be fulfilled with their feeling connected to the bigger picture, then that's when I work with the Akashic records with people. I show them how to read their own records. I show them how to read other people's records. And then you can even go into the Akashic records of your business, current events, plants, animals, anything that has a consciousness has a record connection connected to it. And then if someone is more honing in on like, what is the purpose in this particular lifetime that I'm in? So their incarnated purpose, I work with a program called Unlocking You. It's also a 3-month-long program, same as the Akashic training, but this one's designed specifically to help keep people from being distracted by the periphery, give them tools to hone into their midline, and then amplify their purpose and help them to fulfill it in this lifetime.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so exciting, far out. And so what do they learn? Is it Akashic records? What else do they learn in that program?
Yeah, so the Unlocking You program, so what I've done with that one is I've taken sort of the 25 years of teaching yoga, and I've taught multiple different types of teacher training programs. But what I did is I pulled from the philosophy of the wisdom of these thousands of years of yoga and pulled out like, what are the tools that everyone can benefit from if they want to be more connected to themselves. So we work with intention that is like more powerful than just an affirmation or wishful thinking. I show people how to really hone in on how to work with intention at certain times a day so it's more amplified.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and then phrase it into like a positive I am statement, because I am is the language of the universe. And it's the language of present moment. So those 2 points bring us into a very amplified experience of intention. And then inevitably, when someone's wanting to shift and change and transform, resistance is going to show up. So I show individuals how resistance is actually your ally and not your enemy, and how to work with it to create opportunity and change. We create boundaries because most people have really strong boundaries with other people, but maybe not with themselves, or they have it with the human dimension, but they don't have it with the energetic dimension. So we work with boundaries in those three ways. And then we also play with meditation in a form that is personalized to the individuals that I'm working with. Because meditation can be, for some people, just walking barefoot in nature. And for others, it's like a 40-minute transcendent experience. So I just let it be very personalized.
I love
and then
that.
Rest is the final element, because we get so excited in this human form that we forget that it requires rest and cup filling and nourishment. So I work with Yoga Nidra to show people how to amplify the rest space.
Wow, I love all of that. And as you were talking through, like, so much of that resonates as well. I love how you are making it sort of unique to each individual that's part of the group. So can you share the sort of results that people are getting? I know that for me personally, when we had our session together, I was blown away. Like, I was blown away at what was shared with me, and what the results that I got is that instant, like, oh my God, I can trust this. I can really trust this subtle energy, that I get this feeling, this knowing, keep going. So for me, it was really profound in that place. Are there other results that you might be able to share, some other stories?
Yeah, so sticking with the Unlocking You program, oftentimes when people start to really hone in on themselves and their aligned purpose, they become more confident and courageous to make changes in their life. So I've had individuals go from, one woman was an accountant that eventually moved into doing, becoming a doula for palliative care, which is beautiful.
Yeah, wow.
I've had individuals, one woman she's a clinical psychologist, and she moved from working in sort of a system-based employee situation to being able to branch out on her own and create her own private practice. And then in that, she offers Akashic sessions within her counseling session. So it gave her more freedom to express her healing energies in the way that she felt more authentic to herself.
I love that.
So those are some of the results with the Unlocking You. And then what's most fun with the Akashic training is people get really nervous before it starts, thinking, oh, what if I can't do this? Or what if I can't read someone else's records? I've never had anyone go through that isn't able to read the records by the time we're done. And so that alone is mind-blowing, because a lot of people think when they're in sessions, healing sessions, they think that it's some sort of a gift that someone has that makes them able to work with energy in the way that they do. And honestly, it's a skill set that just needs to be honed in on and practiced and consistently practiced, and it's curated and sort of pulled out from the individual and expressed. So I love those transformations. And then the third signature program that I have is called Sovereign Leadership. And this is working with the energetic realm to support the entrepreneur that wants to amplify their income. So I've seen people go from 5xing to 10xing their income per month, just working with
that.
Yeah, the resources that are around them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That sounds, I feel like I want to sign up to all of them. I'm all in with you, Heather. You've been such an incredible person to work with. I'm also like, I really want to have a session and let's look at my business's Akashic records. That sounds so exciting. So how can people get in contact? Obviously, we're going to put all the links in the show notes, but how can people find you?
Yeah, the best way is just to go to my website, and it's simply my name, heatherivany.com. That's the easiest way. All of my programs are on the homepage there under the little tab offering. Most of them start in September, end of September, early October, and they'll repeat in the new year as well if it feels a little bit too rushed for anyone starting soon. I also have a retreat in November in Cellulita. So this is for the individual that has done a lot of the growth work and just wants to be in the experience. So it's called Harmonize, and it's working with nature. It's working with body movement, meditation, Akashic, fire ceremonies. You don't have to be an expert in any of them. You just have to have a willingness and a desire to want to attune and harmonize to your own heart song. So that's in November. And then the other way people can get in touch with me would be through Instagram. And it's just my name, Heather_Ivany. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, people, you have to go and check out all of these programs. The retreat sounds amazing too. I feel like I want to go on every single retreat that I speak to, like all the people in my world. I want to go there. I want to be on all of them. So if this has lit your fire, if you're excited, if you're curious, if you're a little bit obsessed with Heather like I am, go and check out the show notes and find the program that's going to suit you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Heather. Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Now, today I've got a guest on who is a mutual friend of, it was Jess Babaco that put us in contact, wasn't it? Of course it was.
It was. Yes,
and we've kind of been talking on a couple of different things, and I saw a post that Kelli put up on Instagram just the other week, and I was like, oh my God, we need to have this conversation. So welcome, Kelli Preston, to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here.
It's so exciting to talk to you about this. Before we dive into it, and I don't know, you might even want to read the exact post. Otherwise, I can sort of talk to it, or you can talk to it. But before we dive into that, just because obviously we're here on the Human Design Podcast, do you want to tell a little bit about? I mean, you're a 1/3 emotional generator, but do you want to tell people a little bit about your journey? To what got you here today and what you do, because I think what you do is also pretty freaking powerful.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, and I actually started out as a health coach and an esthetician. And then basically I was doing my website, I fell in love with it. And at the same time I had my son, and I was starting to lose like the autonomy of having like a brick and mortar. And so I started to fiddle around with just designing. And it was one of the greatest gifts I could have ever given myself, was the permission to just play. And that became the gateway into what I now do, which is I design websites for other coaches, for other people in the healing arena, any kind of consultants, creatives. So I work alongside them to helping them develop a personal brand. And then 2 years ago, I picked up Astrology, and that became a big part of now the signature offer that I bring to clients. Is I help them really identify who they are, so they feel comfortable essentially creating a brand around it, just to take up some of the ease, to alleviate the confusion and to add more ease and to make it feel like it's more fun and organic and personable. So that's kind of where the evolution has come. And like now I'm starting to learn more and more about human design, and just like knowing that like basically how I do things is I have to get, it's almost like, which I equate this to my Taurus midheaven in astrology, is this idea of polishing a diamond. Like I keep having to hone my craft, but it's all really kind of going to the same place, which is just really helping people showcase themselves in a way that feels really good.
Yeah, I know one of the things that I really love when we talked about just this was the, when I talk about human design in comparison to a behavioral tool, right? One of my biggest, the challenges with the behavioral tool, whether it's Myers-Briggs or DISC profiling or whatever it is, or Enneagram, we're always doing it through the mind. We're answering questions, right? So the thing that I love about human design is that we don't have to. We go straight to the energetic blueprint, like, so we don't have the cognitive dissonance. We're not making shit up. It's not coming from the unconscious mind. It's our truth. And I think that's one of the things that I really loved about your idea of the way you design and build websites, is because, again, we're not trying to do it with our mind. And I know it's something that I've really wrestled with over the years. Like, when you ask me what my brand is, it changes every time. I've got a wide open G center. I'm like, well, it really depends who I'm with. So I think this idea of using your astrology to really get clarity on your brand, and, hopefully in the future, human design as well, that will be just so cool. I think it's going to help so many people actually get clarity around what their brand is, because they're not creating it from their head, that it's being created from their energy. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this post of yours. I don't know. Do you want to read it out, or do you want to talk to your experience?
Yeah, so I can do both. I'm actually not going to read it word for word because I don't have it pulled up, but I can remember it very well because I mean, so I really hesitate at sharing anything that's going to ruffle feathers. Like, I mean, honestly, given what's going on with my chart right now, I'm in a season of like figuring out how to use my voice. So this was a post I really like sat on, really thought on for a long time. So it wasn't. I can pretty much basically what I'm saying is I can get this out from memory, but it was just like it was just this idea that you can essentially you can cancel with a therapist. You can pay them $150 and you can cancel at any time with them, but you've signed a contract with a coach for $12,000 or whatever it is, or $2,000 a month, whatever it is. Like, they're pretty high tickets, and it's out of integrity to back out of said contract. That was one of the examples I put up. The other one is like, you can return a $77 jacket to Nordstrom, but you can get in this course that you're essentially signed up for, or like a membership or mastermind or whatever it is, for that you commit to paying $1,000 a month for 12 months. You get in and you realize this isn't the fit for me, but yet you're committed to this $12,000 package. And I just started to look at like some of these trends that we're looking at in the online world versus essentially what we've been doing in our day-to-day lives. And then, the other thing too that I've noticed more recently with a couple of my purchases is that you fall in love with the face of the brand through their podcasts or their Instagram posts, through their sales page. And then once you get in the program, you essentially only interact with their team. And so then you lose the connection with the very thing that you thought that you were purchasing. And then you're locked into a contract that says that, you need to continue paying. And then really just this idea that, there's a lot of this narrative out there that says like, invest to your edge. And I think what's happening with so many people is, I don't think there's enough conversation about the discernment of the investment of like, do you actually need this? And so what happens is, we started this for more freedom. And if you keep investing in your business, it ends up being like, you end up essentially being trapped under a mountain of debt when your intention was for more freedom. And so they were just things that I've noticed I'm personally going through as an entrepreneur for 10 years and looking at like what has happened and like the struggles and the ebbs and the flows. And I'm just starting to question it. Like, what is going on in this space that's making it's eroding my trust in it a little bit. And that is the last thing I want to be happening, because I love this space. I love the women I work with. I see the work that they're doing in the world. And I think we're really starting to get legs and like starting to really be able to change the way women do business, humans do business, in the way that we get to serve people. And I would hate for this to be undercutting all of the progress that we've made thus far.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many points that I want to talk to you on that. And I think it's I agree 100%. And I've actually noticed it my entire journey. I've actually got a couple of coaches that I've known for many, many years that do really similar things. And one of the things that I want to say is I totally agree. I believe that we're in this time where everything is growing and evolving. And, you guys out there who listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about my dream of the millions of millionaires. I want us all here on this journey together, and we need to be able to do the work and learn and grow and be supported at the same time. So there has to be this ability to, as I would say, be our own gurus, to be able to say, well, what is correct for us and what isn't correct for us. Now, I know, I was just saying to Kelly before I hit record, I know when I went and studied to become a master coach, we did a lot of marketing and business building, and we had this exact same ethos, or at least we were trained to, like, once people are committed, if they don't follow through or get the results, it's all on them. And look, to a degree, I do agree with that, to the point where I'm like, well, yep, if you enter into something, and it's funny, I've just signed up with this wealth coach, and it's a massive investment. And because I've put such an investment in, one thing I've learned from the get-go is like, well, I need to be all in, and I'm super busy. So I carve out time. I'm on calls at 6 a.m. There's calls even earlier than that I'm on. I'm studying, I'm doing all of the work. Like if I'm going to put this much money in and this much time in, I'm going to be that person, right? However, I think one of the challenges, and the challenge that you're talking to, is the marketing. It's almost like people are getting super slick at marketing. They're getting super slick at, yep, I need to get them into this contract. And then the coach, that person, isn't holding their responsibility.
Totally.
And that's where I think that the gap is, and I know for me personally, as my business grows, there aren't any other trainers within my business, and I think that this is something, and that's not to say that there won't be over time, but if you buy a program, it's with me, because I strongly believe that, that's why people sign up. But I do think that there is this piece, and it's almost like we're educated to, from an entrepreneurial point of view, from a sales and marketing stream, we're educated in a way to get people signed up. But if we've got people signed up and we're telling them that you need to become this, you need to level up, you need to step in, you need to become the person that can attract the money to pay for the course itself, then we need to, as coaches, make sure that we're taking the responsibility to give them the support they need to become that human. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I mean, I think one of the things, because I'm not against contracts, I'm not against like people investing in their business, like, and that's why like I struggled to write the post, because it's not that I'm not all for that. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I very much want this, and I very much want wealth in the hands of women. But I think what I started to notice is that the contracts were essentially in favor of the business and not for the person, for the client. And so why can't we look at this as a way of how we're both getting served? So these women who are trying to create more wealth for them don't end up with more debt. And then also, I think it's also fair to speak to this idea that like, yes, it looks like through the marketing that like, yes, this is the thing, and it may be the thing for you. But the question that I think, and this comes back to the buyer, but I wish that I would have had this conversation, or had it been brought to my attention that this is what I was doing, that I was buying from a place of, I need this to be great.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really curious for people to take a step back and just, do you need this to be great? Is that why you're buying this? Because I can speak to personally, like examples that have, when I've purchased from a place of like, I am just dying to know this, like my astrology course, like it was like, I don't care if I made money from this or not. I just really wanted to know more. I was so curious. And then to look at the fruitfulness that it ended up bringing. But when I would purchase things that I was a little bit, it was almost like I was hiding. It's like I still wanted to say like, okay, well, after the certificate, then I'll show up. And then it was like, but then I didn't actually use the certificate. It just became more work. And so it's like, if I just would have had a minute to step back to be like, is this in service of my values, of more freedom, of essentially like, I want to love the work that I'm doing. And sometimes when we're over signing up and over committing to all of this, it just feels like another thing on a to-do list, like not only financially, but like with your time as well.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. And I also think that there is part of this that is, a fear strategy, especially, like the fact that this is a really big learning for you and you're a line one. This is really important. And it's not just the line ones that do it. You guys out there hear me talk about taking perfect action all the time. You never need more. You never need more. You always just have to follow that strategy and authority, because it's going to give you the fulfillment. It's going to give you what you need in the long run, as opposed to feeling like, well, I need to be certified. And what's really interesting in this time, I hear it all the time, like, oh, I can't do that until I have a certification. And I'm like, in many cases, that's just not true. If you start taking imperfect action in the direction that you're going, you can do it. And I love what you said, like because it's all about your power, right? So when we are signing up to things, we want to ask ourselves, like, am I giving my power away to this person? Am I saying that I can't do this on my own, or I can't do this at all? Therefore, I'm giving my money and my power to this person so that they can do it. Because when we're purchasing anything from that place, we're not actually in the position, we're not listening to ourselves, we're not in the position where we're going to take action. We want to ask ourselves, like, did this come via my strategy and authority from a human design point of view? And B, am I willing to be the person I need to be for this program, you know? And that means like, do it, like you said, do I have the time? I mean, I get it. I'm a mum of 2 kids. I did so much of my studying when they were little babies. And I mean, I study all the time now, but I definitely have more freedom. And I think that this is the piece where I know, again, from my background, that so many coaches know how to talk you around that, you know, and that's not cool. That's what I think isn't appropriate. You know, a person like me, I could juggle everything. But, you know, when we look through the frame of human design, like I'm kind of designed to do that, and I ended up burning myself out, you know. So these are the questions. We have to take full responsibility. We have to be our own guru when it comes to signing up for things, and ask ourselves, like you said, better question, like, what do I want to get out of this? And I love your example of the astrology, because the astrology is like, yeah, well, I just have to know, I have to go down that rabbit hole. And that's really talks to, you know, to your design, to correct decision making. However, if you find yourself signing up to things because, you know, you've had a conversation with a coach, you've had 2, maybe 3 conversations with a coach, and they're like, just do, you know, this and this and this, and they've pushed everything back onto you, and you're signing up from this place of guilt, like, oh, I should do it, then this is out of alignment. Does that resonate?
Totally. I mean, and here's the other thing I noticed that I was doing is I was almost hoping that they would convince me. Like, I was like, even though I felt it was a no in my body, I was almost like, here, I'm going to give you my objections, because they teach you to overcome objections in all coaching arenas. And they would. And I was literally like, okay, like, cool, I'm sold. But here's what I was doing. And I love that idea of giving away your power, because that's exactly essentially what it was I was hoping, because I was hearing the narrative of like, if you invest, then that is you being ready. That is you jumping in. That is you having all faith. What it actually was in my circumstance, and I'm not saying everybody's like this, and not every financial decision has been like this, but there has been a decent amount that I've done this, is it's almost like, if I do this, magical fairy dust will come over, and then I will then have the result that I want, because I've just done the thing. It's like, well, the universe matches your commitment, but my internal commitment wasn't there. Yeah. It's like I was like 1 foot on the brake, 1 foot on the accelerator. And it's like, all that does is bring up a bunch of stuck momentum that isn't, I mean, nothing about that feels good. Like, and it's only now looking at it through this lens that I'm like, because it was to me like, but you invest, you do invest, but there is a way that you can figure out if you're investing from a place of like your personal authority, and it's genuinely going to be so much fun for you, and that you really do want to learn this, and that maybe potentially it's because you don't want to be seen, you're not ready to be seen yet, you don't feel valid enough. I really think looking at that like through the microscopes, and I think that'll be helpful for entrepreneurs on the other side too, of like having people back out of contracts less, or having more like wrong fit clients. Like, if people are taking a pause of like, invest to your edge isn't for everybody at every time. It is.
And that statement, like, I haven't heard that statement, and like when I read it, I was like, fuck off. Like, that's just not fair, you know, because people are in a position where, you know, they feel like they're ready, but they're afraid, you know. So what you're getting people to do is you're getting people to sign up from a place of fear. I mean, yes, there's going to be fear. Whenever we grow, there's fear. Yeah. And as a coach, there's going to be plenty of times where you do have to help people step into their comfort zone. But what are we teaching people? Like, for all the coaches out there, what are we teaching our clients if we're pushing them into contracts? We're teaching them that they don't have sovereignty, that they don't have the power, that we're their, you know, basically their unresourceful parent telling them what's good for them. And I just don't think that that's valuable. I think one of the things that I love about human design, you know, like even with, you know, with my big ticket items, like we break all the rules because we want to make sure that there's enough time for the emotional authorities to decide. You know, we don't want to just get them in early. You know, like I actually had on this, my recent launch on Mastermind 1.0, we had a, you know, on the class, if you signed up on the class, you're going to get a bonus unpack with me. And if you're an emotional authority and you wake up the next day and you don't want to do it, you don't want to sign up, or I think we even gave them 48 hours, we'll just give you your money back, you know, just take it. Because the thing is that, like I was saying to you before I hit record, I've had one client in how many years? 7 years of my business that hasn't finished the program. One. Everyone else, like I have these amazing rates of, like, everyone turns up to the classes, you know, everyone's in tears when programs end. Same with my one-on-one clients. And I have fought that internal battle. Like, my mentors, my teachers taught me I have to sell like this. I have to, you know, do it this way. And if they want to back out, it's on them. Whereas for me, one of the real missions for my business is to have raving fans. And that means, that presupposes that they're getting results. They love the work. They want to keep coming back. They want to tell their friends. That presupposes that their experience is great, you know? And I think that there's not enough coaches out there. There's way too many coaches out there that right now, and it's been happening for a number of years. I was just saying, like, there's a couple that sort of started their business similar time to me that I've kind of followed for many years. And I see them still, like, talking all about all this money that they're earning, yet I know all of their unsatisfied clients because they end up working with me. Yeah. And as a coach, like, is that what you want? You know, that's the other piece for me. Like, let's flip this. If you're a coach and you've got customers and clients that, you know, that are not getting the results, or it's not even not getting the results, because results really do depend on the individual. But if they're having such a bad experience,
right,
like, at what point do we take some responsibility for that? Do you want to respond to that?
Totally. I mean, I think that's the thing too, is that we also have to remember that not every coach is going to be the right fit for you. It's like not every therapist. That's where, like, I had a it was basically a trauma coach, and I got into sessions with her, and, like, she had one modality, and it was one modality that didn't personally, like, I didn't, it wasn't my modality. And she kept it. That's essentially what the sessions were, is time after time after time. And it was like, well, it's not anything wrong with her modality or the way that she coaches. I just wasn't the right fit for that. And so it's like, that's kind of why the reference of, like, we get to try on a coat, we get to have a home inspection, we get to test drive a car before we buy it. Why don't we also have this? Why is it that we're in, especially with, like, coaching and, like, anything, like, this is very intimate stuff that you're talking about. Like, you are really opening up with a perfect stranger. And if it doesn't get to be a right fit, I would almost, like, it applaud you as the coach to be like, you know, thank you for standing up. In fact, I can speak to that, because I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, how does that feel? But I had one client in my design. Actually, I've had two. There's one that was a copywriting, and one that was a design. And the design client, she was in her early 20s, and when I handed her her brand board, she basically said to me, she's like, I won't pay for this. This is not good. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I knew in my soul I was in a really hard time in my life. I rushed through it. And I was like, you're right. This isn't good. I'm not proud of it. I'm sheepish. I didn't want to deliver. I don't know where my creativity was, but it wasn't with me. And I was like, I so commend you for asking for because she was so much younger. I was like, this is so impressive. I would kill for this courage. And I was like, I just want to say, like, thank you. Like, it was a good example for me to see this in action. I'm really proud of you. God, your mom must be so proud of you. She's, like, one of my favorite clients. Like, she's a great brand clarity client. Like, she always comes back. We have a really good dialogue with each other still. Yeah. And I'm like, isn't that kind of like, you get to keep the relationship, and then they also get to walk away feeling satisfied. And then I owned it. Like, I did not deliver what I said I was charging this price tag for.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so important. And I think this also leans towards, you know, how you create raving fans, you know, that you create a safe environment that clients can speak their truth. And B, that you understand that there's two people playing out here. I think this is one of the things I'm currently reading Carl Jung's autobiography. And I'm like, oh my God, he's the father of modern psychology, yet we don't teach some of the most important principles he talks about, right? And one of my favorite principles, again, because it kind of goes against my initial training, is that he talks about is that whenever we step into the room with a client, whether we're a psychotherapist or a coach or whatever, He's like, it's two neuroses meeting. And if that coach or therapist thinks at any point they are above or better than the person sitting in front of them, they cannot heal that person because they're not seeing their own neuroses. It's their neuroses. It's their shit that has brought that person sitting in front of them. And I think that this, for me, I'm just like, and this is what we're talking about. We as coaches, we've mastered something. Okay. But to become a coach, we must have mastered it. We must have been on a journey. We must have gone somewhere. And we have to bring that vulnerability. We have to bring that learning. We have to bring those stories. I mean, for those of you that have worked with me, especially in my group programs, like, there is no stone unturned. Like, I share all the challenges. If I don't know the answer to a question, I'm like, I don't know. Let's work that out. And I think that this is where a lot of the coaching world is letting their clients down, because they're not bringing their full self, because they're not willing to look at themselves. They're not willing to look at their own shadows. They're not willing to say, well, if this person is presenting XYZ, then it's in me, because it is. Like, that's the way the quantum works. So, there's no exceptions to this rule. What you see is you. And I think that this is also part of it. When we're going through challenging conversations in any sort of coaching journey, signing up, or people not wanting to, people wanting to pull out. The one client that I had that didn't continue, that pulled out, I never made a big fuss about it. I was like, sweet, don't worry about it. And for me, to be honest, this particular person just wasn't doing the work. She would turn up every week and be like, well, nothing's changed. And I'd be like, of course nothing's changed, because you've done nothing. So the lesson for me, because there's always been part of me, like the reason she was sitting in front of me was because I'm this person, or was this person, that was like, I need to rescue everybody. And there was that lesson that, no, I don't. I have to do me, and I have to have boundaries. And if someone's not willing to do the work at the level that I'm putting out there, then I have to be willing to let them go. So this is so incredibly important for coaches to understand, that you are not better or above anyone that is sitting opposite you. You are in co-creation with that person. You are in co-healing with that person. And the more you're willing to look at your shit, the better coach you're going to be. So trapping people into contracts isn't, like, it might be a great tactic, but it's not you working on you. It's not you evolving. It's like saying you're willing to, I don't know, like, climb a mountain as long as you've got, you're strapped in and you've got a belayer and you're safe, right? But it's that whole, the contract gives you that safety. And if you feel like you need the contract to keep you safe, then I challenge you. I don't think you're being the best coach that you can be. Because if you need a contract to keep you safe, it means that you're not backing yourself. You're not fully I'm backing myself, and I'm not perfect. I am messy. I am direct. I'm going to call it as I see it. I'm going to dive deep. I'm going to give you everything I've got. And, I get the results I get from that is I get these incredible clients. I work, like, my programs are filled with incredible human beings that want to play all out. They might start timid, but they get in and they get emotional and they share everything. And I think that this is one of the things as well for me. As we move towards the new paradigm, we have to back ourselves. We're in a time we have to learn to love, trust, and accept ourselves. And if someone makes a decision like this isn't right for them, and it mightn't be right for them, and it might be, maybe they're just not willing to get that far out of their comfort zone, or they've committed to something that they shouldn't have committed to at this time because they have 50,000 other things to be doing. But it's on all of us. We all need to take full responsibility, so that if you're turning up and being an amazing coach, you don't need to trap people into unnecessary contracts. In the same breath, we do need contracts to support us, so that people don't just sign up willy-nilly and then back out on us. But remember, what we put out is what we get back. That's the big piece, I think.
I think the other thing too is like is looking at this is what are you making it mean if somebody is backing out?
I love that.
So looking at it, like, does it make you feel like you're not valid, or that that you're not a good coach? And then sometimes I think when we start to come from that place, then it's like we overcompensate, and then nothing is feeling aligned, and like there's a bunch of just insecurities running around and on both ends, and it just doesn't end up I think the more honest that we can be with ourselves, one, like it's very, very possible that it has absolutely, well, most of the time it has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
And it's literally just where that client is at that time. And there's a lesson here for you. Like there's something else that you can grow from this. And so as the coach and then as the purchaser, it just is like, what are you making your decisions from, and what are you making this mean? And I think too, I also wanted to speak to this idea of like how, really looking at somebody else, and like if they're coming to you and you're essentially, it's two neuroses meeting in a room. I think also the way Abraham Hicks says this is this idea that like when you're looking at someone in lack, all you're doing is highlighting their lack.
Yeah.
So how can you look at them from a place of like you're seeing their most empowered self?
Yeah.
Like, and then I think that's when you start to elevate that in your client, and that's when they have like just an amazing experience. Like how can you tune your eyeballs to their highest self instead of feeling like it's me on a pedestal versus, because that is the truth. And I mean, I believe everybody who's in this entrepreneurial world has essentially gone through a journey. They've mastered something, they've gone through a transformation, or they're in the process of it. And then they're here to help bring another through it in a way that has less bumps and, can feel way more, I guess more efficient and ease induced, rather than having them go through a more challenging time. So then they get to be that leader. And so I think, but like we're a leader, not because we're above them, just because we're a few steps ahead of them. And so if we can just look at that in the way that we work with people, I think too, with contracts too, a lot of the things that kept coming up, it's like, if all of this is about manifestation, and we all have this idea, like, the more like you're going to get more money, the more that you ask for, and you have these big contracts. Well, it's also like, if you trust that much, then letting that client go who's not aligned, another one will fill its spot. And so 100%. It's like, if you truly believe in the work that you're doing and in the way that the law of energetics works, then it's going to be okay. It's just exactly not your fit. Right. It's about, it's a fluidity. And so I think the more that ultimately it comes back to trust, I think, for all of this, which is my biggest lesson that's up for me right now, maybe all of us in some degree. But I think the more that we can start to trust ourselves and like where we're being led from in the decisions that we're making, both as coach and purchaser, as buyer, I think, I'm just curious, I think that it'll start to ignite the freedom that we're all genuinely here for.
I totally agree. And I think that there is this time where we're going to move away from the need to have so much formality about commitment, if you like, because I do genuinely believe that it's all about the ebb and flow, like what you're putting out is what you're going to get back, and there's also this process of, it's always comes down to, am I giving my power away, whether you're the coach or the buyer. There's also this piece to say is that no one's perfect. I mean, when this client stopped working with me, I was like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And I had to talk myself back off the cliff like everybody else. Like, okay, no, I did everything. She didn't take the actions. Maybe I didn't push hard enough, but it is what it is. And I think like a large part of what we're talking about, I love that you brought up Abraham Hicks as well. It's like, it's the grasping energy. Like, are we trying to white knuckle something and hold on to something really tight, whether we're the client or the coach, like this person's got to fix me, or I need this person to grow my business, or are we trusting the ebb and flow? I think about this coach that I just signed up with, and I know because she's also worked as a coach for another hugely successful entrepreneur. And I said to her probably like 7 weeks ago, like a long time ago, I'm like, that's it. I'm signing up. I'm going to do your private program. I'm all in. It's just going to take a while because I've got this and I've got this and I've got this and blah, blah, blah. And literally, like, we stayed in touch just as mates, like we would just have banter about this or talk about that. But at no point was there this pressure, and what was really crazy, and this is how I feel like my entire life works like this, is that the day I signed up, because obviously I had the link, I signed up, I paid, did all that. And then I woke up the next day to find a message from her, a Voxer message from her, just saying, or a Insta message just saying, just touching base to see what's happening, when we're working together. And then I hear this next message like, oh, I saw that you just signed up. So I think that the beauty is like when we're not white knuckling it, and this is a person who is so freaking aligned to money, and just to see, like, she's like, I know what's happening. It's inevitable. And then the synchronicity is like, it's easy. No one needs to chase anyone else.
Totally.
Things will happen when they're meant to happen. The programs will fill, everything you need will be there. But it's this journey between trying to hold on to something versus being wide open and trusting that it'll come in. And it's funny, even for me, I've been doing this a long time now. I've done a lot of launches, but to be totally transparent, and our launches are easy now, like easy. We don't do a lot. They just fill up. But there's always a moment that I'm like, should I do more? Should I do? And the moment I do that, I'm like, oh no, I'm just in the head again. I'm just in my head, like get back into my physical body. And listen to that emotional authority, listen to that. And every time, like, my body's like, it's fine. I don't know what you're worried about. So it's this, the beauty of human design really gives us this opportunity, whether we are the coach or we're the client. If we trust our own journey, if we trust our own wisdom, the synchronicities, the external clues, the ease and flow, like, it's not easy to get out of our comfort zone, but it's easy in the fact that things will just drop in at the right time. And like, you'll be like, okay, yep, I've got the green light. Let's just go for it. But if you feel like you need to have 3 calls with someone, or if you feel like, oh, I just don't need it, just don't know enough, or, something's happening there because you're in your head. It's fear-based.
Yeah.
Either you're not listening to your authority and you're afraid of, because I also signed up for that coach many years ago. And as soon as I'd made the investment, I remember being on the phone to him and going, I want to vomit. I've just put so much money down for this. And he was like, yeah, remember that, because that's how clients feel. And one of the big things for me that's really, really important is that I took on at that time, like, I just want to make sure that in that moment that they feel fully supported, that they feel like, I've got you, it's okay. You're not trapped into anything. Let's just get on this journey, and go from there. And I think that even that energetically, you're laying the ground rules, if you like, for like, we're just here on this journey. I've got you. It's going to be okay. You can do this. And if we enter into things via our strategy and authority, then we're going to have a much easier road instead of overcommitting to things that we don't have the time or the energy for. And we're making decisions with our mind anyway. We're not actually making decisions from the body.
Totally. I'm just curious now, like, I'm thinking of, one of the most recent times the day that I said I wanted to do it, and it was completely based from this. If I could go back and just look at how I actually made the decision, the day that I had said yes, the next day, I essentially wasn't in the program yet. They had sent me my contract, and then I voice noted them, and I was like, hey, I don't think I want to do this. I don't think this is the right fit. This isn't actually the direction I want to take my business. And then they were like, convinced me otherwise. And I'm like, and it's, like, I fully own that too, because I was literally like, convince me, tell me, take this, make me know that this is going to happen. And then on the other hand, I'm also like, wouldn't have that been interesting if that would have been like, yeah, no, I don't think it is a right fit for you right now. Like, I don't think this is, it does sound like you want to go this way, and our program offers this. Like, we wish you the best. Like, I just think that would be really refreshing. I've never heard a no. I don't think you're the right fit.
This is really interesting. So this is something that happens with me a lot, because oftentimes people get on calls. In fact, we have someone in the current mastermind who she signed up, and she didn't sign up on the call, but she signed up. And then she reached out to Taylor and said, oh, I'm not sure. And Taylor tells me, and I'm like, fine, let's just get on a call. Let's just see what's going on, and we had a chat and we talked about it. And then she sort of told me what she wanted to get out of it. And I told her exactly what it was, blah, blah, blah. And I sort of said, look, my opinion is X, but it's 100% up to you. I can't tell you what to do. I want you to be here and be all in. You'll be an amazing addition to our community, to our group. But at the end of the day, you have to decide. And I think that this is the piece that I think is, and it's one of my greatest learnings. Like as a 3-5, the amount of times that I have been, what's the word? Influenced, because for all those that know the book out there, Influence, which is basically a sales manual. It's this sales manual that if you want to convert people, just follow the 7 principles of influence. And that's what all of this is. That's what those calls are. And at the end of the day, all they're doing is using human behavior to convince you not to trust yourself. And that's bullshit, if you ask me, And a large part of the strategy that we're building within this business is to not trap people via influence. And because there's some things that we still use a lot. So we use things like scarcity. And when I say we, I mean the entrepreneurial world. We use scarcity a lot to sell, right? And this one thing that coaches over and over again have been like, Emma, you need to use more scarcity. And I'm like, I just don't believe in it. It goes like behaviorally, I know it works. Right. But am I actually getting the people signing up because they're aligned? Like, I don't think so, because I know the times that I've done it, I've been like, you fucker,
Right.
Yeah. So I think that
definitely.
we need to be, and at the end of the day, and this is like Mastermind 2.0 that I'm just about to do. Like, this is the real passion that sits behind Mastermind 2.0, which we're in launch for now. Yep, we're using the gene keys. Yep, we're using human design. But it's going to be the biggest piece of this program is I want to put everyone back in the power seat, so you really know, okay, this is how I attract people in. This is what my brand is like. This is how I'm designed to make money. Because another coach out there that she's amazing, like no criticism, but she's one of these coaches that talks all about money, all about money, all about money, all about money. But this person's design is also designed to have lots of money. Whereas we're just not all designed that way. Some of us are designed for simplicity, yet we're being sold into these programs where you can make this much a month. Like, no, that's not going to make you happy. It's there in your freaking design. So,
oh my gosh, yes.
For me, that's the piece. Go ahead.
I had this conversation about like, what happened to the $10,000 month? Like, why did that get so surpassed by the $800,000 day? Like, I'm like, yes, these numbers are enormous, and yes, that they really do make people happy, some people, but I'm also like remember when like it was amazing when you were making $150 an hour, like what, and you get to also be home with your kids and like you can go for a walk in the middle of the day. Like, also, like, I think that let's remember that there's more, and I don't think that we're out actually like really love that. I definitely think that more wealth in the hands of women is going to.
Yeah, I agree. I love money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I want the money. I do want it, but I think that we also need to remember that maybe we don't all have this same goal, and then to also remember what is it that abundance is. Exactly. Is abundance like you being at home and you being able to take a walk and go to that workout class and do work that you really, really love, that like, you resent having to pee or eat because you love it so much. Like, how lucky are we that this also gets to be part of it? So I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of contributing factors that if we could have it come back to what it is that you value, I think that would have helped for me, like really like putting it through this lens of like, is it aligned with my values? What do I value? Like, is this going to take away from what I actually value? Or is this actually adding to it? It's like the impulsivity, which you can feel that feeling. It's like definitely where it's driven from a place of fear versus excitement. And
and it is, it's just it's the influence principle of scarcity, that they just have anyway. But the other piece that I just want to add as well, like for all these people who are talking about, their 800K days or whatever, like one of the metrics that we work from is lives impacted. You know what I mean? Like that's more important to me. Like, I love money, don't get me wrong, and it's not separate, but I genuinely believe that I earn the money I earn because it's not about making the fucking money. It's about impacting the lives. It's about having aligned clients. It's about me being the best version of me, like me doing the work. So, that's the paradigm shift that I want to see. I want people to be more like, when you're ready, we've got you. And I definitely feel like, as I say as well, like with the emotional authorities, like every private client I've had for years, I'm just there's no sales pitch. It's always like, well, this is what we'll work on. This is what we'll deliver. Like, does that sound good to you? Does that sound aligned to you? How does that feel for you? Is this a good time for you? Like, it's all about putting them in the driver's seat, because ultimately that's the job I'm here to do, is to put my client in the driver's seat. So we have to start out as we intend to continue, as we intend to go on. It's why my group programs are so successful, because everyone, they get in the room, and we've just had Mastermind 1.0 first class last week, and it was awesome. And like half the room were like, oh my God, I was terrified, I was shaking, I couldn't say anything. But by the end of it, everyone's contributing, everyone's being vulnerable, everyone's being honest, and it's because they are in the right place for them. They're there. And it's not just about, like, one of the things is with my programs, like, it's not just about the knowledge that you're going to learn. It's about the experience. It's about the coaching. It's about the learning to step up and support and coach each other. Like, it's this whole big experience. Again, that's why I really feel like when our focus is on the impact we're going to make, being the best version of ourselves, empowering the people that come to work with us straight off the mark with, you actually know what the correct decision is, not me. And so what if they don't sign up and actually it wasn't the correct decision for them? Let me tell you, they will sign up the next time, because that's what's always happened with me. If they don't sign up then, they sign up the next time.
Totally. Like, I mean, I think that's so funny, because I'm so hypersensitive of how people sign up. I'm always like, there is no pressure on this call. Please take a minute to think about this. And I'm like, why didn't I ever give myself the same grace? Because I never want someone to feel how I feel or feel trapped by anything. Like, I have such an affinity for freedom. And I think it's funny too, like, the thing that matters the most to me with my clients is that they feel so comfortable in who they are that they can essentially put a spotlight on it. And it's like, well, how do we do that? Then one of the ways that we do this is through giving them, knowing that they will be great with or without this. Like, this isn't going to make or break you. And so if this feels like so fun and so like, like, I can't wait to do this. This feels so exciting. And like, it's not to say that fear won't come up, but I think that it's more from a place of like, I get to do this, not I have to do this to be this.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And I think it is, thank you so much for the post. Thank you so much for the conversation. I feel like there's so much going on right now. And as entrepreneurs, let's all just take a little bit more responsibility. Let's be the person that we want to attract. Let's trust ourselves and the universe a little bit more. Let's allow our bodies to guide us through our strategy and authority. Let the universe guide us. Have a little faith, because you are enough. You've got this, if you're here and your alignment has got you here, then you're meant to have clients. You're meant to have opportunities. You're meant to have all the good things, and they're meant to come easily. So you don't need to hold on and grasp and hope for the best. And that's not to say that even, as I say, even me, like sometimes I'll be like, oh, should I do something more? That's not going to go away, but it's the fact that the muscle that we build in trusting ourselves has to be bigger. And, if we don't sign that client, or that client wants to cancel, so be it. Just, it's not something to take personally. It's something to learn from and move forward. Kelli, anything else you want to add before we wrap up today?
No, I think that's a wonderful way of finishing this. Is like, I love the idea of the trust muscle. I mean, that is essentially the entrepreneurial journey. Like, I feel like there is no greater personal development journey than being an entrepreneur. So if we can come back to like deeply trusting ourselves in this big paradigm shift that we're in, I think it really comes from this place of like, of getting back in our bodies and really knowing our direction. And we come first. Like, we are our own. We get to decide whether this is great for us, despite someone else saying that they think it would be. Ultimately, you're the master.
Exactly. And like, you can't stuff it up. I think that's the thing I'm always saying to people, like, you can't fuck it up. If you momentarily make a inverted commas mistake, there's always an opportunity to rectify it. Like, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit on, entrepreneur or client. Like, absolutely 100% invest in yourself. It's the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. I have dropped 10K on a program that I think I've watched one video on. That was the lesson, because that was a decision that was made from, I need this, as opposed to I want this. Everything else that I've signed up for, I've really wanted it. I've been all in. I've committed to the whole thing. Because I do it via my strategy and authority. Funnily enough, I did make a reactionary decision probably, it's going to be about a month, 6 weeks ago now. And I thought, I just need this. And I signed up for this program and I just found this old link. It didn't exist anymore. Thank God, because I didn't need anything. I didn't need what she was selling at all. So I think one of the big things to understand is that when we're aligned to our strategy and authority, our design, we trust ourselves, we back ourselves, we're not afraid of making mistakes, then we're going to make much better aligned decisions for ourselves. And, for the entrepreneur on the other side, like, you want high quality clients. You want clients that want to be there. You want clients that are committed. You want clients you can actually help, not ones that are pissed off that they're there, because then you can't help.
Or just paid you and then it's my worst fear that I do a website for somebody and then it just sits there and I'm like, I want you to get use of this. So it's like, it's part of it. It is the value exchange. And so I think it is much of a client to do the due diligence of whether or not this is for you. It's as much on the coach to be like, is this actually, and I know that they say that, like, that's what the point of connection calls are, but I feel like most of the time what ends up happening on the connection calls is it's like more or less like, let me convince you. I feel like that's kind of a harsh word, but
and I think,
so I think not everybody's going to be a fit, and that gets to be so okay.
Do I love this what you just brought up. So I just want to touch base on it before we leave. And that is that if you get into a discovery call with a coach that's trying to tell you all about their program, then just don't sign up. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
Because if you don't sit with a coach that asks you all about you and what you want to achieve and why you'd be signing up, like discovery calls for me, I will spend 3 minutes on the program. 3 minutes. The rest of the time is on them. What do they want to achieve? What of time do they have? What, all of those sort of things, because that is where the decision is made. If you're there genuinely curious about this human sitting in front of you and you're asking questions and you're clear on what their outcome is, and you know that you can deliver that for them,
so good.
It's going to be easy. So the sales are easy. They're just super easy. I've got a massively high conversion rate, because that's what I like. It's all about them. It's not about me. Yes, I can deliver, but then there's going to be some people that I'm just like, I don't think it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate. Maybe this isn't a good time. Like, just be willing to say, okay, we're not a good fit. But I just wanted to throw that in as well.
Totally agree. Yeah, I love this. I'm really interested to see what happens, because I don't think that, I feel like this is a conversation that's starting to come, and I can only imagine the liberation that starts to come from both ends. Like, it's got to be exhausting chasing the client, and it's got to be exhausting being the client that feels like they need to go chase the thing to be the thing.
I remember being that entrepreneur early in the days where I was chasing the clients. It was still a time when people thought cold calls were a good idea, like all of this stuff. And like, I literally wanted to vomit. It was so out of alignment for me.
Totally.
So like that was thrown out after a bit of experimenting. That was thrown out pretty quickly for me, because then you just end up wasting your own time and someone else's time. Like, why bother? Anyway, thank you so much for your time, Kelli.
It's having me.
You're so welcome. It's been great. And I do believe you're right that this is a conversation that is going to start to be had more and more, especially because the coaching industry is growing at such a huge rate. So thank you so much, Kelli.
Thank you, Emma.
Thanks everyone for listening. And I look forward to having you on the next podcast. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means, get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.